Trees beautify our yards, provide shade, and naturally attract climbing children. However, when trees grow to interfere with power lines, they become safety hazards. In June 1991, the Pagel family found out just how dangerous trees too close to power lines can be. 8-year-old Holly and her 9-year-old sister Tiffany were playing in a tree near their home that had grown into power lines when the unthinkable happened.
She was just sitting there, and all of a sudden I seen one of her arms go up. Well, when her arm went up, it grabbed a hold of that power line, and then all of a sudden I seen the other hand go up, and both of her hands were clamped onto it.
Holly made it down the tree to run for help, but Tiffany lost her life that day. The Pagel family is working with Safe Electricity's Teach, Learn, Care program to help others prevent similar tragedies. They want everyone to understand the dangers of trees growing too close to power lines.
Look at trees, look at where power lines are, and, because you never expect this, children see birds and animals sit on these lines, and they don't understand, even adults don't really understand. And a lot of your power lines are uncoded. They're not coded power lines, this is bare wire, So just be careful, look at everything before you let your children where they're playing, because you just never know.
It's important for children and adults to understand that birds and other animals can come into contact with power lines and are not hurt because there is no path to ground. When a bird lands on a wire, the bird is not grounded, so the electricity continues flowing through the line. The same principle at work when you see a squirrel running across a power line. But if people make contact with the wire, whether on a ladder or on the ground, they are a path to ground for the electricity. Current flow to the ground through people is what hurts or kills them. There are millions of miles of electric lines that give power to homes and businesses throughout the country, and millions of trees growing too close or into lines that require trimming and management.
The public demands reliable energy. The public also demands that we have a nice urban forest and we have, environmentally friendly. And when the two mix, it's not always a good combination. When we have trees and the power lines, that can create some very serious issues. And to manage that, we obviously have to have pruning practices or tree removal practices that can address the trees and power line issues.
Utilities and their contractors use arboriculture standards and practices when pruning trees to ensure public safety and reliability and tree health. But because it's not possible to keep trees' natural shape, tree management is not always welcomed. Tall trees underneath power lines are often pruned into a V or U shape, while trees alongside of power lines are often pruned into an L shape. There's a good reason for these odd-looking shapes.
So what we have found out through research and science, through what we call target pruning or side pruning on trees, that we can actually reduce trees that are growing towards, limbs that are growing towards the utility lines, and also use the tree's natural response system so it doesn't put out a bunch of shoots, and it can heal or callus over naturally without creating a lot of damage to the trees. So although the tree may look funny and lopsided in a lot of ways, the type of pruning that's being done to it, the side pruning or target pruning, is actually better for the trees.
While pruning trees around power lines is a necessity, this is never a project for a homeowner to attempt, nor is it a task for a tree trimming service if workers are not properly trained and certified.
The only ones who really should be trimming trees near power lines are what we call qualified line clearance tree trimmers. And they go through specific training to understand how to trim trees properly, but also being able to trim trees close to power lines. If they have not gone through that type of training, they have to stay a minimum 10 feet distance from any type of what we call energized utility line. And technically, anything that's attached to a utility pole is considered an energized utility line. Whether it's telephone, cable, or a guy wire, it's still considered an energized utility line. And no one can enter that 10-foot distance unless they are trained to do so.
There is one way to ensure trees near power lines are never trimmed, and that is to plant the right kind of trees under and around power lines, ones that will never grow into lines. Whether replacing a tall trim tree or adding to your landscape, consult a tree professional about the right tree for the location.
Well, while looking to plant a tree, one, you shouldn't plant anything that's going to get too big and grow into the power lines, because that could be a problem in the future. So they should plant more smaller trees such as red buds or crab apples or Bradford pears and stuff like that. They should always call a regular tree service and have them come out and take a look and see where they think they should plant the tree and what variety. Because again, a lot of it depends on what they want to do. If it's for screening, they may want some sorts of evergreens, which would include like green giant arborvitaes are really nice, and they won't get quite as big.
Trees are an ever-growing part of our landscape. Remember, when it comes to power lines, trees too close create multiple problems and safety hazards, and only trained professionals should manage trees interfering with lines. Whether having them pruned or knowing which tree will be best for that spot near a power line, being safe is the top priority.